Blog Talk Radio.
I might be late to my own funeral one day. Never can tell about me what just might happen. Let's see here. My. Yeah, it's some more right old-fashioned rock and roll. Now, got one thing that really fills up my wastebasket. We got a whole load of people. There's probably 20, 30 of them a week sending in things, praying for our donations. Please save ourselves. I'm supposed to pay your postage. Dude, I ain't paying nobody's freight except my wife. That's it. And anybody can't get over that or don't understand, or when I say no thank you, you know, what do you do with those dinks? How are they going around file? Well, anyway, the show's title is Avatar, and evidence is found in glyphs globally. I wonder why that is. How is it that each and every last culture spread out all over this planet has differing things that are all the same? What do I mean by differing things? Totally different culture, viewpoints, type of people. Now, Avatar. If you didn't see the movie, get it and watch. There's a reason for that. I want you to think about, while we're talking about all this horse hockey, about the different things in terms of movies and stuff and what was in them that I'm going to relate to. And I'll say this again. If you didn't see Avatar, get it and watch. Remember the Terminator? Oh, he was something, you know. Schwarzenegger finally found a place for himself. And one thing I really like about the Terminator, in the very last movie where everything is finally fixed, he smiles. And the friend of his daughter, or a friend of the female in the movie says, we're going to have to work on that. It looks like he's about to take a bite out of a concrete bridge or something. Now, Terminator. How about Alita, the female warrior? That's on. Now, this all started with the Matrix. Now, we got a thing about this. And when I say we, myself, E.T., and several others have a thing about this. We understand what it means, where it goes. We, human race, mankind, is finding out these things slowly but surely. And there are glyphs to attest to all this, all right? History Channel's loaded with them, among other things. Now, History Channel did a nice thing about exposing the E.T. fun and games recently, back when Valiant Thor met with Eisenhower and Joint Chiefs and stuff like that. Go to the History Channel, see if you can find it. I mean, it's one of the best I've seen. So, in the ideology of what I've covered, and think about what I've covered, you got avatars and Terminators and all these other things. Think about it very carefully. Think about the ideology of what Avatar experiences in terms of the change from human to humanoid, the Na'vi as they call them. Think about the transitional part of that, okay? It don't get much better than the Matrix in terms of showing how people can be awakened. Several words come into these references, like cyborg, robot, and AI. Oh, my God, you know. Is my computer watching me? Or how's that? Now, wait a minute. Is my computer in charge? Well, we're about to find out. And there's some reasons for all this, and it will be explained to you in such a manner that you don't miss it. This has been going on since the late 30s, early 40s. But the catch-all in terms of references and terminology is transhumanism. This is the joining of man and machine as is found in Upgrade. Yeah, I hadn't heard about that one in a while. Dude in a wheelchair has got superhuman powers and does some things to people that need it. Researchers are already doing this with the newest prosthesis, artificial arms, legs, and that sort of thing. Then you got this, and the robotics field. Now, I don't know how many people have been keeping up on this, but you need to follow it closely. The robotics field has some very advanced products that walk, talk, and are programmable. Now, think about it. You think the Terminator or something. These things even got, artificial skin. I don't know if they bleed, probably not. But one of the basic secrets to fully altering mankind is to desensitize people. And, it goes on. This has to start by changing how people think. Whoa. What do you think of this? What do you think of that? Do you like the idea that a car might be controlled by its very own computer? It can park itself. Sure it can. They found out that that certain aircraft have the capability of being hacked. Ooh. So this has to start. The desensitization has to start by changing how people think. I'm not talking about usual thinking, but changing the very core, the inside where you actually are, where you live, moral basis, and accepting the unacceptable. Ooh. People learn by repetition, just like those math tables in grade school, over and over and over. Oh, geez, puke. If you compare what was, what is, and the general direction, you might, and it's maybe, you might see that humanity is being taken for a ride. Now, back in the day, Lucky Luciano got taken for a ride. He's the only one ever lived through it. So consider all this, okay? Consider what we're looking at, okay? You've heard of Agenda 21 and all this other happy stuff. Well, guess what? They're still working on it. Well, we're taken for a ride. Okay, where to? Is this some long and winding road? The how is obvious. Just look at what is now acceptable. That's all you got to do. Just, if you don't watch movies, go to a movie theater, and people are not doing that as much as they used to because you got cable or you got satellite or a friend does, and you go watch over there in the comfort of your very own house. You don't got to dress a certain way or anything. Just go over and relax. Now, the politically acceptable came out of its closet, real sneaky like fog on a little cat's feet. Ooh, think about it. Didn't hear it coming, didn't see it happening, but it's there. Now, I'm not going to tell you what exactly it is until we get to the end of this. Then you'll find out. This PSYOPs action was decided on and approved way back in the 50s and earlier. They tried and played around with it, but it didn't really take format or anything until the 50s. And you think about the convenience society and all that, and you begin to click on things and go, really? Okay, well, now here's something, and this is going to curdle a whole bunch of milk. It's going to cause people's minds to overheat and a few other wonderful things. There were actions. Now, this started way back. There were actions like the Civil Rights Movement. But it's not exactly the Civil Rights Movement. When you say that, everybody gets a picture in their mind. Well, change the picture. There were actions like the Civil Rights Movement. And this experiment in sociology was used as a basis for the rest of this. Ooh, well, what exactly is that? Well, what has changed is the moral basis, where people are told and required to accept many unacceptable realities. Oh, it's just the way it is. Now, given a level playing field, anyone can become the success you see in the commercials. Seriously, if if you're willing to give everything up to the almighty bottom line, the clothes, the car, the house, the family, all of that's there. You can have what you want. However, the level playing field was and is not allowed. You don't believe me? Go out in a black neighborhood and ask them. Been screwed with lately? What are you talking about, white bread? Your mama. I mean, you'll have to get all kind of different orb just shot. I mean, there's a lot of different answers to that. But you need to know the level playing field was and is not allowed. They're not going to take somebody outside of the old money and put them in. If you got billions, they might listen to you, and only if you figured out a way to either acquire or steal it. Now, within this are a large load of hidden persuaders. I'm going to say that again, hidden persuaders. Anyone who has not read that book, do so now. Go get it. Wherever it takes, find it and read it. If you can get a copy online, great. If it's an e-book, that's even better. Spread the word. Now, in the 40s, it was discovered that the signs in grocery windows were not equal, and neither were print ads. Now, not equal. Everybody hollers about equality. Well, what do you do when the basis of something ain't equal? How do you get past that? Well, you have to either downgrade the upper part or upgrade the lower part, but you got to get them somewhere near par, let's say. That's all you got to do. But they're not willing to do that. I ain't giving up my exclusivity and all that just to humor your butt. Who are you anyway? Me? I'm just old hillbilly talking on the Blog Talk Radio show. Well, first, now you had to get what everybody else was getting. Really? That's a lie. Straight up, it is. Okay. Who's got a new car? Brand new. You should have one. You should be enjoying all the best things in life according to that. You had to get what everybody else was getting. That's a lie. Not everybody can get that stuff. Who can afford $100 for a shirt? You get stuff that good, they'll break in your house and take it. Everybody knows this. Second is lifestyle presentation. Now, back in the 50s, they had two presentations. They had one lady that was browbeaten, and she had a scarf on her head or sweat catcher or however you want to look at that. And what was interesting about it was that she is bedraggled looking. Her hair is wet and things is kind of hanging, and she's catching kids as fast as they try to go get past her or go by her. Well, then they had the other presentation that you saw a lot of, and what they did was they took that first impression, and said, "What life would you like to have?" And then they show Mama, the lady of the house, in the kitchen, wearing high heels, no less, a very nice dress, all made up to go out, cooking dinner. And the little kids are sitting at the kitchen table with their hands folded, being good little boys and girls. Now, lifestyle presentation, that's what that is. That's another lie. How do I know? Well, I was alive back in the 50s, and I seen it, and there ain't no way. There's no way that Mom would run a perfectly nice dress or try to wear heels and catch kids. It just, any women out there ever try to run in high heels? I mean, you want to see something funny. If you really want to get the idea, I'll give you a simple way to look at it. all you got to understand is take an ostrich, and I don't know if anybody knows this, they run pretty fast, right? Right up until you put roller skates on them. Then the fun begins, big time. It's hilarious to watch, and yes, it has been done. Some crazy mother decided to do it, and they did, and oh man, you fall out of your chair watching that. Okay, now, lifestyle presentation, there you go. Oh, what do you mean you ain't got the new car that you're supposed to have? What do you mean you don't live in the neighborhood that you're supposed to be in? What's wrong with you? The last of this deals with the official memo. I used to have a copy of it, and I spread that sucker everywhere, stipulating and calling for the destruction of the family unit. That's right. Seriously, this was among high-level officials at the time. Now, they have tried their best to break things, to break it off in your whatevers and cause you all manner of problems, and destruction of the family unit is the manner in which you take a family and cause it to self-destruct. You don't actually destroy it, but it calls for the destruction of the family unit. Two effective ways to do this to the two types of families targeted gets right down to where the rubber meets the road. The cost of machines. Now, that's your washing machine, all right? Think about it. Washing machines, cars, and all that, supposedly, I want everybody to think about this very carefully, supposedly gave you what you wanted, and you had the capability of getting it. Now, remember, this is back in the we had two sections of Roaring 20s, one in the 20s and one in the 50s. All the guys come back from the war, they had to do something. Well, they went to work as a washing machine repairman or whatever. Okay, the cost of machines was kept low. And with the advent of these, there was less and less need for large families to tend the land or get chores done or whatever the situation presented itself as at that time. Farmers had smaller families. And so did hillbillies and everybody else. I mean, and you have to understand the basis for this, or you're not going to make, you're liable not to survive. That's how critical this is. This is why I'm doing this stuff. I've covered some of it on the show before, on other shows, but it was the tight family unit of hillbillies that was paired with farmers that was next. Those were the targets. The first one started out as farmers. The second one, well, when you got a tractor, you don't need 20 kids running around planting stuff. It'll plant, harvest, and all that good stuff if you get all the thingies that go with it. The hillbillies were a little bit more difficult nut to crack, but in these two, that's farmers and hillbillies, and poor families, that the next big effort was made. Now, labor-saving devices were then required to have the convenience lifestyle seen everywhere. You saw it in every kind. The lady in the dress with the heels on was everywhere. Yeah. Oh, she can really, be something else in it. The only way to get the devices was to work off the land. Ooh. Why is that? Many of the men went to work. The hillbillies stayed in labor-intensive areas like timber and mining. They could stay away from towns and the stupidity that went on there, while farmers worked in farming, industries, and factories. Hillbillies didn't move into the factories right away. Why? They didn't like the people they met in the cities. Shortly following this, the industrial owners, that's the people that made the machines, decided they wanted more money. So targeted prices started to rise. Now, there are convenience things such as what happened with TV dinners. They doubled in price over a period of about 6 months. So your convenience lifestyle, ooh, hey, should we eat steak? Why do you think White Castle was so prolific? Why do you think White Castle was so great? Well, when it's fresh, it ain't bad. I actually like them. So you have to understand the industrial owners wanted more money. So targeted prices started to rise. You want a toaster? Instead of it costing, I think it was $2 in that area, and that was considered a little pricey, but $2. Instead of the $2, all of a sudden it's $2.50. To go a step further, you over a period of time found that it would be $4. Oh my God, we're getting close to what they're being sold for nowadays. You can get a toaster for about $5. I won't guarantee what it does to the toast, or whether it'll stick the toast in the ceiling, or just blow up when you turn it on, or what. But in the days of the 50s, my mom and didn't have to work. I mean, it wasn't required. Why? Dad made him enough money, took care of business in such a manner that Mom could stay home and take care of the kids. Well, until they go to school, I understand that. After that, Mom's going to get bored pretty quick with reading and other time wasters. And I'm telling you, it's a time waster at that point. At least the boredom made it seem that it was. She was home when I got home from school. If it was cold out, she made me some hot soup, and it was great. However, the more things went along, the worse things got. In the late 50s, this changed, and Mom had to work to gain or maintain that nice lifestyle. Remember the lifestyle presentation? Well, when you get used to something, it's hard to give it up. It's almost impossible if you give somebody benefits or so much a month or whatever to take it back. Oh, my goodness. And this is only one general change, very general, but it affected almost every female who was taking care of kids, every mom, some who weren't or whatever. It affected almost all of them. Between the 40s and 60s, the basic idea of justice changed. Ooh. Now, there are a bunch of different topics I have put together in such a manner that they're not easy to differentiate, but bear with me. Between the 40s and 60s, the basic idea of justice changed. Instead of just justice, people wanted a little bit of revenge from their heroes. Hey, man, shoot him several times, not just once. You know, that sort of, this is the beginning of extreme violence everywhere. And I do mean everywhere. It was happening on the sidewalk going to school. It was happening in the school. It was happening at the groceries, you name it. People started to fight just because they disagreed over nothing that really mattered. Hey, that's my parking place. Oh, F you. I got the front end of my car already in it. Then along came the reality movies, where good guys wiped out all the bad guys. You've seen those. I mean, oh boy, you've seen Punisher, I'm sure. Well, that's, you know, apparently it's still out there. What you want to think in terms of is Shaft or Dirty Harry or something of that nature. In the period of the 60s to the 80s, organized crime started to lose control to gangs. I'm putting this together for a reason. You have to see where this is going. Well, they couldn't have organized crime being in charge of things because they were not acting according to the agenda that the people that were really in charge required. So the gangs started picking up loose ends and little bits of this and little bits, and then they started getting prolific. Crips, Bloods, MS-13, you name it. In order to protect themselves, people of all ages started carrying guns. I know little kids that go to grade school, and they've been carrying guns for years. Why? I asked one of them, I said, man, you got a gun, and I'm curious what's going on. He said, it's pretty simple. I said, what do you mean? He said, it's just exactly the fact that I'm not going to let some big dude drag me off in the bushes and do what they want to with me. That ain't happening. Somebody comes after me like that, I shoot him. Oh, now maybe you got an idea why there's so much gunfire around. Now we have people shooting each other instead of just fighting. Some people can't compete on a physical basis, like the little kid and the big guy. Others refuse the possibility of getting beat up. The good old-fashioned ass-whipping, can't have that. No, I'll pull a gun out and shoot you. So, how does all this tie in with everything? We're going to get to that because you have to understand that irrespective of everything, the subtle nudge and crowding in directions that were unclear began. This is when things changed. Societal basis, the manner of living, all that sort of stuff. This all goes into this. Bear with me. Entertainment quit entertaining. Smiles turned into poker faces. And a large majority of people were no longer happy. They couldn't go to the movie theater and get a charge and come out all giggly and fun. Well, there's a few cases where you could, not many. And it is a barren landscape today. The basic beliefs were the solemn outlook of too much serious reality. Oh my God! If I go and spend that money on taking everybody to the movies, I have nothing to eat, nothing for lunch to eat for the week. Little simple things, and you'll find out what's going on. The pain and strife of everyday life became all too real. And then some dinglebat decided in their great wisdom to put it up on the big screen. Hey, look at this movie. This was all kept slow, steady, and relentless. It's still going on today if you look, but you got to really know what you're looking for. That's why I made the reference to certain materials you need to be familiar with, such as the movies and books. Machines have no feelings. Now, anybody who's ever tried to program a VCR understands that the person that set up the programming hates humans. Real simple. And the VCR probably hates the person that's poking it. Machines have no feelings. And the more people relied on machines, and that's the toaster, the washing machine, etc., the less human the people. I'm leading up to something. You better believe I am. Transhumanism is real, and it's going on at a high rate of speed and very prolifically. You saw and see this everywhere and anywhere. You look around. First is changing your mind. Now, people don't get the fact that they can be led down a primrose path that just leads to a nice big cliff that if you fall over, you're going to die. Think about lemmings. And a lot of people dismiss lemmings. Well, lemmings are stupid. Whomever takes off, hey, follow them. Doesn't matter if they're going to die or not. Even if they know it, they'll do it anyway. What are you? Are you a lemming? Are you going to follow along with whatever kind of happy horse manure somebody puts out? A person's mind changed. A person convinced against their will is of the same opinion still. You got to memorize that. Well, that's all very true. That's almost a law of nature. But just because it's very true doesn't mean anything. Why? Very true. Unless that person wants what you are offering. Oh, and you got to really dress it up, make it look good. Commercialization of the thing is so simple because most everyone wants, needs, and it has to have it, that no one is aware of it. It's just something that filled in the gaps. It's just something that's there. This social course of action is so all-pervasive because it seems innocent. Doesn't look like what it really is because its basis was intentionally designed that way. Ooh, now this is high-level intelligence that you ain't gonna get anywhere else. Period. Fads come and go, but this not only hasn't gone away, but is continuing to spread. This addictively contagious activity is infecting all of us from an early age until we die. Woo-hoo. No one mentioned what the designers were doing to us, as no part of it looked dangerous. Yeah, transhumanism, all right, yeah. You're going to turn me into a cyborg. Kiss my Watusi. The crux and critical part goes to the root of the origins, and that the intent was made as an offering of riches and power. How many people sell devices and got extreme riches and power? Everybody knows about Facebook. Okay, well, here we go. Think of being offered wealth at the highest level and being able to direct society. Make things come out the way you think it ought to be. Well, you have a clean slate. Write whatever you want. An innocent mind is easy. After this gets going, we will tell you what we want. Now, that's the conversation that I captured, and it's been eliminated, believe me, along with the website. The person who put that up is dead. They got shot. You have a clean slate, right? Whatever you want. Think about it. After this gets going, we will tell you what we want. Once upon a time, someone discovered that mind control was the only way to go. Now, you've heard about the, cell phones are going to take over, cell towers are going to get it, and all this. Okay. The very best way to control a person's mind was to have them volunteer. Now, how are you going to get somebody to volunteer for mind control? Well, it's pretty simple if you know how to go about it. If this is so well hidden and so subtly sneaky that no one noticed, now what? Well, suddenly this trap snaps shut in the biggest gotcha in the history of mankind. And I'll elucidate to it in a minute. You're no longer as human as you were intended to be. You are changing. Why? Because you have decided to change. There is a distinct lack of emotion in your human qualities as your human qualities fade away. This mind control alters your thinking, and your transition has begun. Some are so far gone, so lost, it all acts like the addiction it was intended to be. Some are so ingrained in this system that will fight you to stay enslaved. Now, you heard that part in Matrix. And why they don't free people up? Well, there you go. You take them out of that and put them into something that's not what they want. They go spastic. This was and is how high-level officials bowed down to the power of the deep state. Now, the deep state's been around since around 1900. That's when the agreements started being made. The idea of control in all its forms comes down to who is in charge. Not how they're doing it, but who's in charge. I'll tell you how they're doing it at the end of this dialogue. Do you think independently, or does something or someone else think for you? I've asked that question before. How far can you get? Well, whispers through the mists of time from our forefathers does talk about this. Remember those glyphs I mentioned? You got to look for them. They're out there. Now, if, and it's a big if you are being subjected and enslaved, quit it. It's pretty simple. Quit it. Stop the texting. Yeah, that's right. Cell phones. and make a call to another emotional human being. Listen to the emotion in their voice and rejoin the human race. Don't let them transition you and plug you into a wall socket. That ain't cool. Stop your transition by direct interaction of face-to-face communication. That's the manner in which you subjugate this. Now, in the Intel arena, whatever you want to call it, I have people that can look things up and send me stuff and let me know about things. There is an official guideline for exactly what I just talked about in this, oh boy, nice mention of what's going on. How many people have to be on Facebook? How many people have to text somebody? You don't text, you ain't hitting on nothing. Then we got the Washington Examiner for last week, actually. And CBO report shows Washington in denial over entitlements. Congressional Budget Office is what that is. And first thing they come to is the entitlements. And the increase in the deficit and all the nation's future physical woes are tied to Congress's inability to tackle entitlement reform. That means Medicare and Social Security. That's exactly what they're talking about. They think it's madness to just let it go. Well, no, it's madness to let anybody, any Tom, Dick, and Harry, that jumps the fence, get on it. Trump's looking to try to stop that to alleviate some of this. Liberals are quick to propose a simplistic tax increase as the solution to everything, but there is no reasonable source of tax revenue great enough to save both of these programs. Well, no, you don't. Screw off. Whoever wrote this is full of shit. That's an editorial, so I would suggest that the editor probably is involved in allowing this crap to come out. We paid for our Social Security, you friggin' idiot. Idiot means uninstructed. I'm going to instruct everybody very simply. And I'll take issue with the officials that say, oh, we paid 2% on that year. Okay. Then what do you do with that money? That goes into the Social Security account, okay? And does it accrue interest? Of course it does. Well, that means that you didn't pay no 2%. That wasn't no payout of 2%. You just screwed everybody and just said that you did. Very simple. The left should be more concerned about this than the right. Oh, whoopity-doo. You got to be left so that you can get things done. They ain't done diddly squat. Not since Trump's been in office. The nation's entire tax revenue, no matter how high taxes go on the wealthy, is exhausted just in cutting checks for the elderly and their health care providers. That's a lie. Straight up friggin' lie. Well, it goes on. Once the nation reaches the point where tax increases are needed just to keep the entitlements funded, there won't be anyone left to raise taxes on to pay for the new programs. Well, how about you leave the old programs and sacrifice the new programs, cut about 30 to 50% off of this, and really take a look at what you're doing. For now, the left is in denial. So is the right. Ooh. Which has long claimed that the economy can grow itself out of this problem. Ideally, Social Security would be changed to guarantee a certain level of retirement income. That's what it's supposed to be doing now. By letting markets do the lifting instead of taxpayers, the government would allow even a modest monthly investment between ages 18 and 67 to grow to help support a more comfortable retirement. Now, that's the problem. They have been taking the money out of the friggin' Social Security. That's right. You guys are guilty. He's been stealing the money from Social Security and buying bonds with it, and those bonds ain't worth squat. Lawmakers will be forced to adopt a toxic combination of severe and sudden benefits cuts and draconian middle-class tax increases. And you do that, that will start Civil War II. And the problem here is the understanding. Whoever wrote this editorial is a total idiot. And the reason I say that is that Social Security isn't at fault. Spending is. You need to replace the money that you've stolen. You hear me? And there's a law that needs to be repealed that does not allow cost controls in medicine. No cost controls. What are you going to get? You're going to get a mess. Trump offers Palestinians a chance for peace and statehood if they'll take it. We'll see. All you're going to do is run around in circles and not accomplish squat if you keep with the normal things. Now, Hugo Gordon is the editor, and he takes a part in that editorial I read. So, Hugo, if you want to talk, there's ways to get a hold of me, and the government does have my phone number. If you don't, there are email that you can use. The end of a dismal affair. Brexit, that's one. Impeachment, I'd say both. Brexit took place. Oh, boy. Britain quit the European Union. And you got to understand, there's been 2 or 3 decades, 20, 30 years to get this straightened up. Britain wanted its sovereignty, independence, and capability of handling its own affairs back. You said, screw off. Well, we got something to look at. Britain seemed to be disappearing inexorably into the maw of the EU oligarchy. The EU was eating their lunch, and them too. They wanted to retrieve their sovereignty, so they took the Brexit route. Now, here's the deal. And it's going to get funny. I'll hit on the deal at the end of this. Americans seem instinctively to understand the Brexit urge. U.S. history is couched in a narrative about freedom, animated by principles of self-government. The willingness of European peoples to abandon not just the things that made them different from each other, but also the freedom to govern themselves is alien and baffling to many Americans who prize those blessings above all others. The first of those freedoms and prerequisite to all the others is freedom of speech. Bingo. And here's part of what I was talking about, that texting stuff. Big tech companies used to boast that they were champions of free speech, but have swiftly become the opposite, dismissing free speech literally as a joke, and instead setting themselves up as censors. You can't say anything that we don't approve of on Facebook, YouTube, whatever. Well, let's break it off in their whatevers. And the people and views they censor are conservative. Ooh. So it's a political fun and games. Interesting. Now, I'm going to cover a part of law at the end of this, at the end of reading some of this, that covers all of this and puts them in a trick bag at the same time. I'd like to see somebody, we need somebody who has the legal knowledge, somebody with deep pockets to help with expenses, or pro bono, in order to tackle this problem. Big tech bullies who are silencing dissent and reshaping politics. They didn't tell you what to believe. I mean, you got the March for Life. For the 47th time in Washington, D.C., Donald Trump became the first president to attend in person. I agree with the idea of the sovereignty of life. However, I also agree with the basic principle of if you ain't responsible enough to use some form of birth control to keep that from happening, go through it anyway. And no, the government is not going to bail you out with a taxpayer-funded abortion. Do it yourself. New spring in the step of marchers on the biggest human rights demonstration in the world. That really, Really put things together. Oh, boy. Generation Z's melancholic pop queen, Billie Eilish. Like so many in her generation, seems missionless. She sings with the voice of a generation that has grown up inundated with news about school shootings and climate change. On the one hand, vapid, viral trends and Instagram-fueled beauty standards in another. What a crock of crap. Now, what did I just say about the internet telling you how to be and what to do? Okay. Here's what she says. I never want the world to know everything about me. And I agree. I mean, that's why I wear big, baggy clothes. Nobody can have an opinion because they haven't seen what's underneath, you know? I agree with that 100%. A coping mechanism that strikes a nerve with Generation Z, whomever that is, like a teenager curled in the corner on her phone, Usher sings in Lovely. Isn't it lovely? All alone. Now, her brother helped her with all this. We didn't write a speech for this because we didn't make this album to win a Grammy. We didn't think it would win anything, ever. We wrote an album about depression and suicidal thoughts and climate change and being the bad guy, whatever that means. And we stood up here confused and grateful. Eilish became so popular in part because she sings, frankly, about the mental health problems that plague her generation without pretending to have all the answers. She's just as confused as the rest of them, my good Lord. Well, thank you. I have listened to her music, and I like it. It's decent, okay? Now, how about this? Bald eagle sticks it to tax season. The bald eagle is a national symbol. Rebelling against taxes is a national tradition. So it was fitting that one bald eagle in Virginia Beach, Virginia, inaugurated tax season by crashing into the window of a tax preparation office, smashing a 3-foot hole in the glass, and then having suffered no apparent injuries, flying back out the window. There's a lot of people I know that like to do exactly that to the IRS. Many of them are not particularly happy with the IRS either. The IRS ranks 9th among 13 top departments and agencies, the ones that people like even less: Federal Reserve Board, Food and Drug Administration, Environmental Protection, and finally, the Department of Veterans Affairs. By the end of tax season, more people will be relating to the bald eagle. Yeah, real simple. I got a feeling somebody's watching me. I got a thing called Clearview AI, and it's nasty. And it's mentioned in this magazine. The King of Paranoia Rock was onto something. When Rockwell sang Somebody's Watching Me in 1984, the song became a smash hit, though not everyone could relate to its level of paranoia. Now we all can. Ooh, you got cameras here and ones there. And I'm surprised they don't have a proctologist hooked to one looking up your butt on the toilet. Last year, one New York man sued Apple for $1 billion, alleging that its facial recognition technology led to his wrongful arrest, which it did. In short, anti-big tech and anti-big government sentiment may unite against an incredibly invasive form of facial recognition technology. When Rockwell was saying, I always feel like somebody's watching me. Who's playing tricks on me? He was probably asking a rhetorical question, but now we have an answer. Big Brother and his tech contractors. Ooh, bad guys. The milk industry is not, or dairy industry is not taking it anymore, leading an effort to ban non-dairy products made from soy, oat, etc., from being mislabeled with dairy terms such as milk, yogurt, or cheese. And they're winning. And I agree with that. If I was a dairy farmer, I'd, The Swamp, an affectionate farewell. I used to agree with all the popular criticism of Washington, D.C. Then I moved there and I fell in love. Well, it's nostalgic. Whole article's nostalgic and unimportant. Why? Because D.C. smells like the swamp that it is. That's why. A Babylon bee in her bonnets. This is another nice one. Why the political press suddenly believes satire is a threat to democracy? Because it's the butt of the joke. You think I'm brain damaged? Hello? This is ate up more worser than being brain damaged. Too real, too close for comfort. And Snopes gets kicked in the crotch, among others. Fact check also. I mean, they're not playing. This article doesn't play with anybody. Washington Examiner, February 4th, 2020. Satire, you see, is dangerous because people cannot be trusted to know what is real and what is fiction. Really? Man, these are headlines now. The laundry is on spin cycle for you people that can't stand it. Man identifying a 6-year-old crushes game-winning homer in T-ball championship. Coronavirus polling higher than all presidential candidates. I mean, it's funnier than shit when you get into it. Trump was merely sharing the gospel with that porn star, says Jim Baker. Really? Epstein released from hell after announcing he is transgender. I put one out that I thought was nice. I really dig this, and why I do is because of what it says. Democrats warn that American people may tamper with the next election. You damn skippy, we will. Or that the Democrats demand that flags be stationed at half-mast because of the death of that terrorist that supposedly is such a good dude. Well, guess what? Democrats call for flags to be flown at half-mast to grieve the death of Soleimani. That's clearly a joke. CNN says, look what they did. Well, go have a heart palpitation somewhere. We won't mind. We'd probably like to get the video and watch. Politics says pro wrestling. It's not just Trump. The entire political culture has changed. And I'm going to tell you the truth, and that is not much. Not much at all. Like any good wrestler, Trump knows he has to charm his supporters and smear his opponents like great anti-heroes such as Stone Cold Steve Austin. He knows that his admirers will applaud rudeness and cruelty if they are targeted at people they find dangerous and pathetic. Even greater numbers are still getting their fix. It's just coming from politics. Ooh. How pro-life became cool. Responsibility is not an easy way out. And that's where the whole thing of pro-life comes in. It also stipulates in the book, thou shalt not kill. Especially the innocent. Good Lord. Blacklist Valley. There are laws against this. How big tech reshapes politics by censoring conservatives' ideas and personalities. And this is extraordinary. Of adults, 68% use Facebook. Ooh. 73% use YouTube, and a quarter use Twitter. The numbers are much higher for adults under 50. 2/3 of adults, roughly 4 in 5, under 50, use social media to consume news. I hate to tell you this, but you're liable to end up in a place that's supposed to be a joke, and nobody told you. Well, here we go. We think of Twitter as the global town hall, said former Twitter CEO Dick Costolo. We are the free speech wing of the free speech party. And no, you ain't. Google. Oh, can't be evil. Facebook memo circulated in 2016. We believe in connecting people so deeply that anything that allows us to connect more people more often is de facto good. We've gotten so accustomed to the role they play in our lives that we fail to notice that big tech is shifting through the available information, and narrowing and prioritizing our choices. In other words, it don't come up as in the search. Why? Well, they negated it. Facebook, Google, Twitter, bastions of democracy, free speech, now openly moving toward direct censorship and media manipulation, and specifically targeting conservative ideas and personalities. How about we give them a choice? How about we enforce the First Amendment and tell them that they have their choice is very simple. Either comply or we clear the building and put chains on the doors and you may not operate any further as you have in the past. Let's get nasty. Ooh. 2018, Google circulated an internal memo that instructed employees on the benefits of censorship. The memo, the good censor. Free speech is no longer in vogue. So, what happens? The good censor, Google, conceded that while the Internet was founded upon utopian principles of free speech was no longer in vogue. Tech companies are adapting their stance towards censorship in direct response to the anxiety of users and governments. No. You got a few out there that think it's cute to do this shit. Well, guess what? It ain't. And guess what? You're going to fail. Tech firms have gradually shifted away from unmediated free speech and towards censorship and moderation. Oh, got to be a positive development. YouTube's case, increasing the number of people on lookout for inappropriate content to more than 10,000. It argued that censorship was necessary partly because users' bad behavior. Oh, they're behaving badly. They're bad guys. What do you mean the Democrats are full of horse hockey? You can't be on our thing if you're going to do that. You know, the most alarming part of the missive, however, was that it spoke approvingly of foreign governments that were censoring online speech. Google, right in the middle of it, framed the acts as taking steps to make online spaces safer. What's the matter, Snowflake? You melting? More regulated, more similar to offline laws, protected from hate speech on the street. Yo mama, Twitter, free speech wing of the Free Speech Party, Dorsey claiming the whole free speech wing thing was one giant joke. Oh, well, my. Maybe we need to come up with something other than Facebook. Says it's priority making users feel safe from others' speech. Oh, poor little Wumpsy. That means that the same thing applies in this as applied where they disinvited a certain person to speak at a university for the simple fact that they were scared to death that, and you'll love this, they would come out with a Nazi salute, goose stepping. That was the honest to God. Online censored. Two are external and related: market pressure and platforming campaigns by liberal activists and journalists. The third pressure is internal. Silicon Valley is staggeringly one-sided politically. Oh boy. Profit margins and market pressure are critical levers that left-wing dialogues, I'll get that right one of these days. Ideologues used to pull tech giants and other corporations in the direction of censorship. They're going to the left because the right's got to be wrong. Got to avoid controversy. Outrage mobs. That means avoiding offending the left, which controls most of the cultural institutions in America. Well, fine. Let them. That's fine. You go ahead and support the libraries and art galleries and all that. That's fine. Just don't tell me I don't have free speech. You might not like the results. If you convince corporate marketing agencies that advertising on Facebook is risky, you can be certain that Facebook will take some form of action to shed controversy and reassure investors. It's compounded by the internal pressures of companies' employees who want big tech to embrace censorship against non-liberal opinions as a, moral and political necessity. Internal officers at Facebook, Google, Twitter have always been overwhelmingly left-leaning, but the election of Donald Trump as president has made them far more radical. Well, cool. We just had radicalism and they lost. I told one Silicon Valley insider that I thought tech culture now resembled the left-wing activist culture on college campuses. He reprised, they're exactly the same people. Think that over very carefully. They're exactly the same people. Now, you're talking about $8 million worth of problems. Their political opinions are certainly monochromatic. Of the 8.1 million that tech industry workers donated to presidential candidates during the 2016 campaign, 95% of it went to Clinton. Among the nations from Silicon Valley are specifically 99% went to Clinton. We the people. Now, I hate to tell everybody, but they're going to have to suck it up and get ready to have a war over this. Seriously. Hate speech? Yeah, well, what I hate is the fact that these people think they are in charge of everything I do when they ain't. They're having real serious problems dealing with the idea that some turkey, some podunk, lives in the woods with too many guns, has a show like this. Maybe we need to, Southern Property Law Center, all the goodies are in here. Retooling algorithms or news feeds or monetizing standards in such ways that benefit liberals and sideline conservatives. I had a lot of people cut off that people I know about. Partners with left-wing groups such as Southern Poverty Law Center, and they are nasty. Flag supposedly problematic content, falsely labels individual conservatives as extremists. You're going to get extremists if you keep screwing with people. If you keep squeezing them, bullets will pop out. And conservative organizations as hate groups. And then promotes more restrictive content policies against alleged hate speech. Well, to give you some idea of the Address Group standards, it once accused Ben Carson of being an extremist for stating his belief that marriage is between a man and a woman. Ooh! It's got its own scandals, but the organization has been widely discredited. Oh, poor Southern Poverty Law Center. Discredited. I think it'd be nice to be able to take your access to things away from you, just like you do to us. Google engineers who designed the digital tools and algorithms to police hate speech on YouTube is as part of Google's Trusted Flaggers program. Ooh. They got the computers looking. I wonder if they can smell shit. Google kept its collaboration with the Southern Poverty Law Center a secret. We didn't want nobody to know. Hidden behind a confidentiality agreement, and the group only admitted the partnership after that's Peter Hansen, the guy who wrote this, broke the story. Woo! Advocacy groups to combat hate speech. Woo! Giving the organization more power. Southern Poverty Law Center led 5 other left-wing groups in forming a coalition called Change the Terms that aims to pressure all major technology service providers into setting speech codes governing what their clients say both on and off their platforms. Think about it. Ever hear that book, 1984, seen the movie? If you ain't, you need to. Since 2016, they have shifted the digital landscape against conservative voices. By November 2020, they will have transformed or rigged social media in ways that will have far-reaching implications for America. Remember I said we're going to have to fight back? Oh, my goodness. And we finally got done with that stupid knee-jerk reaction from the left-wing socialist Democrats. People outside the Beltway are not transfixed by impeachment battle. The longer it goes, the more interest wanes. Everybody wanted to see how they knew how it was going to vote. The vote was going to go anyway. And they're revamping sex education, and they're doing so in a conversational manner, not an absolute manner. The PRO Act is an attack on worker freedom. Now, this comes from the Chamber of Commerce, and I don't usually even fool with it. First, the bill would threaten private ballots during a union organizing vote. Nobody wants that. Second, it would effectively nullify right-to-work laws in all 27 states that have them. What a crock of shit. Just on those two, it ain't going to make it past the Senate. Third, it threatened independent workers and gig economy by imposing a new definition of independent contractors. California's already trying that, and they're going to have some serious legal problems from it. Many independent journalists, okay, people that write for magazines, many are being given the choice of either moving out of California or losing their ability to work because AB 5 only allows them to write 35 pieces a year, after which they would have to be considered an employee. It also forces people to pay union dues. I mean, what a piece of shit. Member Pompeo, nothing is ever totally off the record. It's better not say anything at all than risk embarrassment. That's very true. He told a certain reporter what he thought of it, and I said it because that's the way he treated it. Republican mayors redesigning his city to curb climate change. Dude, you get a serious problem, you're going to have to move the planet, and you don't have the technology to do so. New bill would end phone record surveillance program. Well, Safeguarding American Private Records Act is where the problem lies, and it's Politica. Section 215 of the Patriot Act currently allows the FBI to ask for a court order to obtain any tangible things, including books, records, papers, and documents related to a terrorism investigation. If you're not involved, they can come take your computer. Strengthening protections for American Civil Liberties Union, the Center for Democracy and Technology, said these reforms are long overdue. Members of Congress should understand the impact of these laws on the nation's most vulnerable communities and should seize this moment to curtail the dragnet surveillance powers that were granted under the deeply problematic and outdated Patriot Act. They need to fix it. Trump administration is not being trusted with these powers. It wasn't him, Dink. It was you. Oh my God. Lay it where it's supposed to be. Washington Secrets. Rand Paul says election chaos is goal of impeachment. And it was. Interview. Their goal, he said, was not to protect democracy, but ruining the GOP's election chances. I think they increased it. Free advertising. It's about taking them off the ballot, and there being chaos on the other side. Ooh, we can wipe them out. Guess what? It obviously didn't work. Pennsylvania Treasury Twitter account takes aim at billionaires. Oh boy, you might have bit off more than you can chew. Then it goes into life and books and all this other happy shit that I'm not interested in. I don't think you even need to hear or want to hear from me. Finally, that was a long one. Let's bring it over. All right. This is the week, February 7th. Oh, shit, it expired yesterday. Ain't that a bummer? Phoenix, voting discrimination. Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals ruled this week the Republican-controlled state legislature banned ballot harvesting in 2016, prohibiting voters from letting campaign workers or other non-family members deliver their early ballots. Well, if you happen to be in a hospital, Arizona, the Ninth Circuit ruled 7-4 that Arizona had contrived. Think about that. The rationale to outlaw a practice used overwhelmingly by Democrats in a state that has become increasingly competitive. Judge ruled that Arizona's long history of race-based voting discrimination, legislators' implausible claims about their motives, demonstrated that the true merit or true intent of the state's regulation was to disenfranchise Latinos, Native Americans, and African Americans. What about the white people? The court also struck down a law that made ballots cast in the wrong precinct invalid, a rule that disproportionately affected non-white voters. Oh my God, what about the regular people? You're trying to tell me that there ain't no white people anywhere in there. I'm going to tell you you're full of shit. Ninth Circuit Court is known to have problems. Well, here we go. Means test. The Supreme Court voted this week to let Trump administration apply stricter scrutiny to poor immigrants and deny them green cards if they're likely to use public assistance programs. I agree. New Orleans, unsaintly. The New Orleans Saints are fighting the release of hundreds of emails that allegedly show team executives helping the Archdiocese of New Orleans spin the news of a sexual abuse scandal. Oops. Hidden talents, Boston. A distinguished Harvard University scientist was arrested this week and charged with lying about his lucrative work helping China gather foreign research, talent, and intellectual property. Oh, you mean if I tell somebody something, it's got to be absolutely correct and all that? Well, you better apply the same standard because the law is applied evenly whether you guys like it or not. Oh, boy, they caught that fugitive senator that from Colombia. They snatched it. Nazis in uniform. Hundreds of German troops, many of them members of elite commando units, are suspected of involvement with far-right groups. 14 soldiers discharged, and that include 8 neo-Nazis. They're looking that over real close. Deadly landslides, Brazil. 7 inches of rain. Well, they're having those problems here and there. Why is the weather so screwed up? You want to know the reason? Chemtrails. St. Petersburg, home of the base, The Guardian revealed last week. 7 alleged base members were arrested by the FBI charged with plotting to kill anti-fascist activists and to stage terror attacks at a gun rights rally in Richmond, Virginia. Think about it. All you heard was about the 2 white nationalists that were thinking about doing that. Now you got a bunch more. They're looking at any way they can to cause problems. Libya, ceasefire collapses, and I ain't going into that shit. Tehran, victims threatened. Warning, the grieving relatives of people who died on Ukraine International Airlines flights 752, the passenger jet mistakenly shot down by Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard in early January, to stay silent about the tragedy or else. Now think about that very carefully. Facebook talks about censorship. Well, guess what? Warning to the U.S. Manila says they're going to cut us off, lose all access and any agreements we got and all that shit. Oh, nasty. Pakistan, is there a difference in overlords? No, real simple. Auschwitz, playing politics with a Holocaust memorial. Of course they are. Of course, and then they got this horse shit. You heard me, horse shit. 6 million Jews did not die. There wasn't that many in the AO. They couldn't grab that many if they went outside the country and loaded them up. There was not that many available. That's basically, one of the reasons I disagree with these people who think that they're all that. Well, sorry, bud, but guess what? No. Kobe Bryant, his request for redemption. For what? He didn't do that much wrong. Couldn't have. He didn't have time to. He's too young. Pompeo, the sound and the fury. A lot of accusations here. Oh, this is about the NPR and him cussing out this reporter for asking the question they were not supposed to ask about. It was Pompeo who lied. Of course it was. What a crock of shit. If bullying the press and Ukraine gets applause in Trump world, then it doesn't matter how his tantrum hurts American interests or disgraces the office he holds. Doesn't matter. What matters is the lies that the people that write this stuff put out. And that's from the American Conservative. Bullshit, dude. Sorry. Who was it? Daniel Larison. Yeah, well, my opinion, get too close to me and I will blow your foot off. Yeah, you got it. Surveillance. Your face is now public property. Remember big tech and the problems you got with it? Well, let's get Clearview AI. Until now, technology that readily identifies everyone based on his or her face has been taboo because of its radical erosion of privacy. But New York City passed the app after 9 days worried about potential abuse, but they didn't care. The Department of Homeland Security plans to scan 97% of all passengers on outbound international flights. Ooh. The technology has been improved and commercialized to the point where you could search a database and buy scans for as little as 40 cents an image. Oh, my goodness. You want to get a picture of your mother-in-law in the bathroom? There you go. An extraordinarily unregulated data industry is already creating profiles about who we are and what our interests are by tracking our movements, purchases, and interactions. Think about this very carefully. They know what color underwear you like, and they know where you put things down, like your keys when you're coming out, the whole bit. They already know that. We are being identified without our knowledge or consent, and society needs rules about when that is permissible. Payback for getting kicked off of Facebook. Tech executives are increasingly falling victim to swatting. November. To Instagram CEO Adam, happened in November to Instagram CEO Mosseri after police in San Francisco received a series of telephone calls claiming that hostages were being held inside Mosseri's home. After a prolonged standoff, they realized the calls were hoaxes. Facebook, the social media company, has cracked down on accounts that violate its rules, leading to what police believe to be retaliatory attacks against the executives responsible. Now, all you'd have to do is put a little blood in the right spot, add a little evidence, you could really have some fun. Alarm on antibiotics. The new antibiotics will hurt you more than they will help you. Think about that very carefully. Let's see if I got anything else. I don't think I... Nah. No, let's see here. Look forward as opposed to backwards, says Obama. The litany of possible criminal charges includes obstruction of justice, perjury, tax fraud, money laundering, accepting payments from foreign governments, and violation of campaign finance law. Hello, Democrats. Yeah, that's right. You heard me. And they were proven to be guilty of that. Think about it very carefully. Oh, boy. Everybody says drain the swamp. Well, guess what? Judicial Watch is playing a critical role in that. And I'm going to give you the chronicles. And this is corruption. Judicial Watch. JW sues for documents about recalled Ukraine ambassador Maria Yovanovitch. Why? Oh, because there was an untouchables list given to Ukraine Prosecutor General Yuri Lutsenko in late 2016 by recalled U.S. Ambassador Ukraine Maria Yovanovitch. Ooh, that's interesting. Guess what he's doing? as a prosecutor, he was fired at the requirement of Joe Biden when he was vice president, telling him to fire that prosecutor or you don't get your $1 billion in aid. Now, they want to impeach Trump over some kind of happy crap that was small potatoes in comparison. Why in the hell do they allow some super crook like Biden to run loose? Good question, huh? Reports suggest the Ukrainian embassy was a hotbed of anti-Trump deep state activism and tried to promote and protect leftist allies in Ukraine and the United States. As the coup attack on President Trump continues, and it's done with, this new federal lawsuit is designed to get to the real truth of the deep state's games in Ukraine. On October 9th, 2019, the Judicial Watch filed a Freedom of Information Act request for State Department records related to the possible illegal collection of information by Yovanovitch on prominent conservative figures, journalists, and persons with ties to President Trump. The swamp just sprung a leak, a big one. And I'm loving it. Loving every minute of it. Now, I don't normally get into this, but censorship has been big. Plays a huge role in things. This comes from the magazine Guns and Ammo. If you go to a place where they sell magazines, you don't see gun magazines, demand that they produce some and see what happens. Recently, now I'm not going to read the intro. Recently, Apple removed GunBroker, the popular gun auctions website, from its app store, which many of us would never know because applications already downloaded are still functioning for now. Our right to keep and bear arms is protected by the Second Amendment. Somebody don't like that? Go somewhere. Hello, Virginia. How about all you guys go to Venezuela? You love it there. Discrimination. That's all it is. Exceptions. Now, this is from the Supreme Court. Exceptions to the rule that the U.S. Supreme Court will not apply First Amendment mandates on private acts is bullshit. Here's what it said in 1945. Freedom of the press from governmental interference under the First Amendment does not sanction a repression of the freedoms by private interests. That means if you go to Kroger's or Wally's World and you can't find a gun magazine, they can be brought to court for that? Oh, poor little wumpsies. I hope you catch it in your zipper while you're trying to hurry up. It's easy to argue that private companies are not subject to limitations of government action, but this line of thinking was rejected by numerous state courts when businesses were once attempting to discriminate against customers based on race, religion, gender, income, education, etc. Stanley v. Georgia, 1969, the court claimed it is now well established that the Constitution protects the right to receive information and ideas. Oops. That means unless you have some kind of legal case where they broke the law, you can't get them off. This right to receive information and ideas regardless of their social worth is fundamental to our free society. The Supreme Court clearly and firmly recognized that the right to receive as a natural and necessary extension of the literal right to speak in the First Amendment. How about that shit, you know? All right. Now, how does all this shit tie together? Well, I'm going to give it to you real quick. Artificially represented things, situations, conditions, etc., along with machines and all that you see represented in media, and usually it's some form of entertainment media, have been put into glyphs. Now, a hieroglyph can be many things. Sometimes it involves a combination of pictures and differing alphabetical things. I'm going to take it one step further, and you're going to love this one. What would you do with Black Hawk gunships, modern-day tanks, and fighter jets carved into a wall? Now, I want you to bear this out. It was carved into a wall some 700,000 years ago. Oh, that means that the ideologies that you're seeing have come from small amounts of leaks of different kinds, military or otherwise, that precludes the ideology that, that's all bullshit. Terminators are real. I just told you about it. If you think they're not, well, you might want to do some real serious research in the area, but be sure your insurance is paid up and you got good body armor, because they will try to kill you. Think about it very carefully. Now, take it to the next step. The secret space program is going to be slowly revealed. That's why Trump initiated that space program in the military. Exactly. Nothing more, nothing less. I've talked to ET recently, and ET stipulates that as soon as we start getting things rolling, and I mean rolling, in a humanitarian effort to better the lives of everybody, clean up the mess we got, take out the trash, to include humans, then we will transition almost immediately. They will set it in motion, and it will take off, blast off like a rocket. A lot of people don't get all this information, and I'm putting it on this show because Gail, and her show, it's nice, but it's a limited, much more limited audience. I want this to get out. Avatar. Evidence is found in glyphs globally, not just in one place. I used to think that. And then I got to looking, and guess what? That friggin' stuff is everywhere. Would you believe that one of the northern lakes in Europe actually has the complete zodiac signs carved into 1,000-foot cliffs? Yeah, right. We can't even do that shit today. It's like some of these things that they moved. Well, there are ways to move it. Ed Leeds Scalman, Coral Castle. Look it up. Learn about what he said. He stipulated that he was levitating that shit. Think about it. Once you learn how, it's easy. It's like if you want to know how to become psychically, spiritually active, read my books. Gail has a site, and they're posted, and the only problem is she's getting so many friggin' demands for the books, it's burning up the website. But until such time as I can come up with more definitive answers for everybody, expect things that you've dismissed, things that are great and decent, to actually come about. Think about it. They're headed your direction. Until that time, go out there, take a special interest in everything, and get her done, please.